This week I played a bunch of Aranya, but wasn't really inspired by the decks. But Marvel Snap also released this group bundle and then this Star-Lord bundle. And instead of buying those, I got the Guardians game, which was a lot of fun. But it reminded me how much I love the Guardians, and it's always been one of my favorite movies in the franchise. And I have always wanted to make these cards work. And for the first time ever, I think I finally found a deck that felt good at the top of the infinite ladder. Here's the deck list, and I know what you're thinking, oh, this looks so cope, but it actually worked out for me really well. If you've seen my other videos, I think this is my third video with this core Wiccan package, which is essentially Wiccan plus Kitty Pryde, Kate Bishop, and stuff like Maria Hill and Athena. Again, I have other videos with this package, but essentially Wiccan needs you to spend all your energy to get his +2 energy condition. So Maria Hill gives you a free turn 1 and 2, Kitty and Kate are amazing curve cards in general, and this deck plays a lot of turns where you're only playing 2 cards, so Athena is good. Okay, so why the Guardians? Well, I have Rocket, Star-Lord, Groot, and Gamora in this deck. I'm sorry, Drax didn't quite make the cut, but the Guardians in general just curve really well. So turn 2, you can Rocket and Kitty, turn 3, Star-Lord and Kitty, and so on. If you miss your on reveals, it feels bad, so we have Jean Grey. And she is a big piece in this deck in what makes it work so well. You can play down Jean and then play a Guardian in that lane while playing stuff elsewhere, and you end up getting power all over the board, but you usually win the Jean Grey lane unless they use Shadow King on their last play in that lane. Jean also works well with Alioth and Magneto, which are at the top end of the curve in this deck. So yeah, they're playing Hela. Well, if you Jean Grey and you have Alioth, it's essentially impossible to lose that matchup. They fill up Jean's lane, well, you can move the cards out with Magneto, and the final turn they have to play there again. And yeah, that's why Wiccan works so well with this deck, because you can do things like play Alioth and Magneto, interacting with that Jean lane on turn 5, which is so nice. And here's some big tips to make this deck work, which, if I can, I'm gonna save Rocket and Star-Lord for the later turns. Yes, it meets that curve really well, but if I don't have to play them, I'm gonna wait to be able to play them with something like Alioth and Magneto, so I can use them to win a lane and then attack another lane with 5 or 6 power. And then there's also plays like you can play your Gamora and Groot on the final turn, which feels really good. Now, subs are really tough with this deck. Usually I give a lot of subs, but just know that if you're gonna play with Wiccan, you need to keep the curve. So if you're subbing something out for Athena, make sure it's like Angela, and that would work pretty well. And yeah, it's just a tough deck to sub things out with, because this deck was very intentionally put together to make the Guardians good. But if you guys give it a go, I'd love to know what you think. I'd love to know any changes you'd make to the deck, because this is an archetype literally no one is playing, and it has characters that are close to my heart. So I'm gonna start my climb off. I rank 170, and here's how it went. First game up against Andy, we got Kitty into Athena, where we can just bounce Kitty and play the Guardians hoping to draw Wiccan. They do have Maw out, which screams this is a War Machine deck, but Jean can counter Legion into Storm combos, so we just need to draw Jean. Anyways, Star-Lord hits the Chiera at Aunt May's, and that's a 10 power turn 3. We draw into Wiccan, which is beautiful, and as I put him down, they put down their War Machine, which is a little scary. But I'm flooding the raft, just throwing everything down, and we get a Heimdall. We hit our Rocket in Gamora's on reveals, and we get an 18 power swing compared to their 10 power Cole. And then on the final turn, he blinks out his Cole for Alioth, and lucky for us, we just have to move everything over with Heimdall. And we end up winning the game. Rare, we can go over a War Machine deck in power, but we make it happen. So this man sets down a Hydra Bob. And you know what? Rocket's actually able to keep up with that power. Then we get down Kate, and we hit our Star-Lord, but we are quickly hit back with a Red Guardian. Now, with Wiccan, I'm feeling good. We're gonna drop him in Wakanda, and they drop down Man-Thing. And as I snap, Bob is gonna jump mid, So based on where he played his Man-Thing, I know he has a loot cage. So hoping to hit his loot cage, I Eliath his 2 cards, and unlucky for me, I missed the cage. Now going into the final turn, here's how it goes down. Yeah, it was a close one, but a good game. And it's crazy how we can get 21 power on the last turn in 1 lane. The next game, they drop a Lady Sif and we draw Eliath. Normally, you have to guess for Hela, but I have Jean Grey, so I snap and set her down, and he just retreats. And I will say, decks that usually run Shadow King and Cosmo can be scary for this deck, and as you see in this game, not only do we get hit with the Shadow King, but he Reality Stones my Jean Grey lane once again, and it changes to Crimson Cosmos. So yeah, not much I can do there, and we're out of there. Next game, I start with Maria Hell and go into Kate Bishop, so we have plenty of resources. But then as we play Athena in Aunt May's, he clogs me and he snaps. But you know what? I'm chilling. We got Athena in that lane. We can bounce stuff with my Kitty Pryde and get Athena pretty big, and I'm going to force him to play mid with Jean Grey. He does play Magic, which buys him some more time, and I just keep bouncing Kitty in my Jean Grey lane, so eventually he can't clog me, and he plays Titania and tries to Viper, so bless up for Kitty Pryde. And I actually snap back at this point, loving my hand. I'd Magneto everything to the runes, so this final turn he has to play in Limbo, which a 12 power Athena on the left, and I'm going to Eliath mid and then Rocket and Star-Lord into the runes for 11 power if he plays there is a pretty strong turn. And yeah, he is out of there. And I feel so good about how versatile this deck was and how good it played into even some of the worst matchups. Okay, final game. We both wait out for the Collapsed Mine to clear up, and then on turn 3, I'm hitting my Groot in Mojo World. And also safe to say Wiccan's ability is no good here. He drops Ma and Pixie, which can be really scary. On top of all that, he plays War Machine, while I just have Athena and Kate. And then the next turn, I'm gonna play Wiccan just for the stats, and I'm gonna grapple him mid. And he only plays Kate, so safe to say he's either holding his Pixied cards for a big final turn, or he had some bad hits. And here is how the game ends. Yeah, Shadow King didn't account for Athena, and the final result is I climbed from 170 to 138, which might seem inconsequential, but that's like 40 to 50 cubes in the higher ranks. And we're playing against some of the best players, if not the best players that are playing, so I consider this deck a success. If I played longer, maybe I could have gotten higher, maybe I would have regressed, but the Guardians deck was just really fun, and I think this is one you should try. But thank you to those who have subbed already. I appreciate you, and to those who haven't, it would be sick if you did that. But let me know if there's any cards you want to see me cook with. Just don't ask about Adam Warlock, because I've tried everything and he's not going to happen. But thanks, bye!